meeting. The meeting is now to order. Octavia, would you please call the roll?
Councilman Fry is absent. Councilwoman Griffin,
Here.
Councilwoman Burrow,
Here.
Councilwoman Robinette,
Here.
Mayor Jones,
Here.
Councilwoman Lipka,
Here.
and Councilman Garrett.
Here.
Okay, a quorum is present. The first item on the agenda and the only item on the agenda is the discussion regarding the task force. So who would like to be first?
This is Tony Burrow. Since I called for the meeting, I'll take the first comment. And the title to discuss the mayor's task force up for discussion this morning is that we need to have, and I'm saying we because I'm including the city of Ferguson, need to have an understanding of what the task force actually is. I just got last week notice of what the task force is in its written form. And as I went through the task force, there are several things on the task force that if we went through the sections of the charter, and if we looked at the Sunshine Law, several things on the task force are illegal. If we went through process and procedures and the standard operating procedures of the city, several things are out of place. The main thing that I'm concerned about, that concerns me about the task force, is that there was, prior to that writing of the task force, no council person knew about it. As far as I know, I didn't know anything about it. I was not contacted prior to it being written. When I heard about it was when I had COVID and was listening into the council. But at that time, I did not know what was involved. And just until a week ago, when I dissected it, there needs to be council involvement. There needs to be city involvement. And it's not to say that America cannot have a task force, a committee, or whatever. It is to say, though, we have to have it done legally, and we have to do it with the citizens in mind and some input from council. I would also like to say that with the council not being involved, the way the task force reads right now, we don't need a city manager. We don't need a council that was elected by the citizens of the city. We don't need a city manager. All of that becomes mute. I would like to look at this as the dawning of a new day, and that we need to scale back and do things decent and in order, and do things according to not a broad spectrum, but to the finite. I think that we owe it to the people that come to the polls. And I'm sorry if my voice is a little straggling right now. I'm dealing with kidney problems right now today. And it's, I'm in excruciating pain. So I just want everybody to know that I'm taking my time because of being ill today. I would like to hear from my fellow council members, and I'll give a statement after each one of them have had an opportunity to speak as to where I think we are with standard operating procedures not being in place might be the reason why we have this situation that we find ourselves in today. So I don't know if we want to go in alphabetical order or how the next person wants to speak up. From off of my screen, Heather is the next person up, then it would be Linda, then it would be Ella. And as far as, I don't know how, Fran, and I don't see Byron. And also, I'm sorry, I skipped over, I'm sorry about that, skipped over Councilman Stephen Garrett. So in that order is the way I have it. And being the person that called the meeting, I'll make the last statement at the end. So the next person.
I will, if somebody has, I'm still formulating some thoughts based on your opening statement. So if anybody is ready to speak, go right ahead and I'll catch up.
Thank you so much.
I can speak. Going through the document that was presented to me and going through the website that was built out and reviewing timelines, if this task force is a functioning entity and doing business with and beyond behalf of the city, it has to function more akin to a board or a commission where there are minute notes and agendas, and that's the big talking point that I have, is that this isn't operating within like standard government transparency. And when we're trying to work together and establish what this task force is doing and how it relates to the 2040 plan, that holistic view is not available to the city, and it's not available to staff, and it's not available to the council in order to move things along and actually accomplish anything that is set out to do. That is my core point on what this task force is and how it relates going forward in its actions and its plans and how those are approved and how the goals are being accomplished from this task force, how it relates to the city business, how staff is instructed to act on behalf of the task force, and those situations give me grave concern.
Next.
Oh, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and go. Can you hear me okay? All right, so there's a variety of things that I want to address. The first thing I want to address is the language. So the language and the definition of task force, if there is no definition of a task force within our city charter. The only person who has the definition of a task force or creating a task force is in the charter within the statutes of responsibilities regarding planning director. Actually, I have that information in front of me. Just a moment. Yeah, in section 2.371, the Director of Planning and Development, that is the only place that the definition of task force is actually used in our city charter. So if we're going with special committee and we're just calling it a task force, if we're actually treating this as a special committee, then that comes under our city council charter in the section 2. And special committees are section 2.31. And that is defined in there to reflect a process of assessing needs of a specific task or a specific project within the scope of council. For instance, when we had a CRB board created, when we had the 501 Plaza created, when we purchased or designed the community center, the police department, the fire department, there were special committees that were created within council. And each council member had the opportunity to appoint people to that special committee along with the mayor. So we have a situation where special committees It currently says all special committees shall be appointed by the mayor unless otherwise ordered by a majority of the council. So, I mean, special committee can definitely be appointed by Ella Jones. That's not a problem. It's in the charter. But historically, since 1993, the 4 past mayors never did that in a vacuum. They always included their city council. They always involved those people. And the special committee had a defined and finite reason for existing, with a beginning and an end date, and a responsibility of accountability to present their results to the city, to the citizens, and to the council for the next step in those processes. That being said, if this is a special committee, then I think it has some great aspects to it. So good, in fact, that we're already doing them. So good, in fact, that we already have boards and commissions that are set up to do these things. So good, in fact, that we already have the ultimate task force, which was elected by the citizens of Ferguson, and that's called City Council. If there is gaps that need to be identified that are very important to the mayor, that she would like to create input from the citizens to address, then by all means, let's do that together. Let's look at these things. Let's look at where we can utilize the 2040 plan in regards to the current boards and commissions. So, you know, I see the mayor's intention, or I'm going to rephrase that. My view of the mayor's intention, I don't want to assume I know what the mayor's thinking or doing, because that's not fair. What I see is that she has a grand desire to truly affect different areas of the city within the 3 years that she's here. And she wants the most people helping her with the most potential to help. And that is admirable. There's nothing wrong with that. What I would say is we have to be completely transparent. We have to have that cohesion that you talk about, because currently, honestly, we don't have it. There is an us and them. There's the task force, and then there's city. There's the task force, and then there's council. There's the task force, and so forth. Until we don't have a cohesion. And I go back to what Councilman Garrett said. We don't have a cohesion because we don't have meeting notes. We don't have meeting times. We don't have meeting locations. We don't have meeting agendas. There have been sunshine requests that have not been answered. So from citizens, they forward it to me. But getting back to what's going on, what I suggest is that taking these goals, take them and go to each board and commission and say, hey, this is your specialty as a board and commission. This is the part of the 2040 plan that I see that I want to make some impact on. How do we work with this board and commission? Okay, planning and zoning, you can do this. Great. Can you work with FNIP on this? FYI, you're doing this. This is what 2040 plan has. This is what we need from that. So that to me is where you utilize what you already have instead of creating a parallel universe and instead of recreating the wheel. And that is where you actually develop the most impactful cooperation, cohesion, and collaboration of citizens who are sitting on these boards and commissions, waiting to be utilized, waiting to be activated. And in the areas that these boards and commissions are not filled, where there's positions available, that's where you put people in there, get them filled up, get them going. We know this is not an easy task. We've been trying to do this for a long time. But if this is the priority of the mayor, along with the agreement of the council, then this can become the priority of getting these boards filled. Now, in getting back to my original beginning, the language. So task force is not defined in the charter. Special committee is defined in the charter. And by definition, can also be, a special committee can be ended by majority of council vote. In the paperwork and in the video of the town hall, which I went through, very detailed oriented, I've got plenty of notes. It is referred to when the composition of the task force is described and referred to. It's referred to as a board of advisors, a board of advisories, a board of stakeholders. You'd only have a board of people when you have a board or commission. So I go back to language. Is this a board? Is this a commission? Is this a special committee? Because if it is a board and commission, again, I refer back to the sunshine laws that are not being followed, the fact that there is no ordinance or resolution creating a board or commission, that currently, as this stands, it is a mayoral order. Everything that has happened in this particular creation has happened under the auspice of what the mayor has requested. It has not happened under the request of council in collaboration. It has not happened with the participation of citizens of Ferguson overall. Citizens have been appointed to this board, but no citizen knew of an appointment process, nor did they have the opportunity to apply. So I have concerns there. Where we show that the board, the task force, its competence, let's see. The elements of the task force to empower the community, equity and proportionality, building mutual trust. That's something we need to work on. Providing clear, accessible information, quality of listening, impact, accountability, identifying appropriate resources and cultural relevance. These are all beautiful terms that are very generalized and have no definition. We cannot have a task force that does not have a definition. These are generalities. These are goals. These are aspirations. This is not a defined, uniquely identified process with an established timeline and an established result required. So there are issues there. When I go through and I break it all down, economic inequity, addressing jobs and development opportunities. These are things that our city staff does. Our city staff is directed to identify these areas through the request of, council can request through the city manager, who then establishes goals and projects for the city staff. This is what they do, not a task force, not us. Economic development, we have that. That is Elliot Leapson. That is our planning and development department. That is our public works department. That is our planning and zoning department. Neighborhood improvement, you have that. You have that through initiatives, including the property restoration program, the vacant home program, the vacant lot program. You have that with utilizing FNIP and the planning and zoning committees, and FYI serving the community in the areas of youth engagement. You have youth engagement addressed through the partnerships that we already have with the Ferguson Florissant School District, the Riverview School District, the Hazelwood School District. All of these things are already there. Environmental and energy sustainability, constant safety, crime, youth services. These are all listed in the town hall by Ms. Tracy Jeffries, who is the senior advisor to the task force to Mayor Jones. In that area, again, environment and energy sustainability. That's part of section 2.4 of the charter. That's part of the city charter. That's part of the city staff responsibility. It is addressed already in the establishment and creation of our city. And our public works department and the constant safety and crime, that is within the scope of our police department. That's within the scope of our fire department. That is not in the scope of a task force of citizens outside of those expertise. When you have services for youth, we have awesome services in Ferguson. We have the FYI, we have community partners in Emerson YMCA and the Urban League and the Boys and Girls Club. We've got our community parks and recreation department. That is their job. You've got the Parks and Rec Board. That is their job. You also have health services that are being established as we speak with the Cardinal Glennon facility on Purcell for youth health. So, I have lots of notes here. My point is this, in regards to the task force summary, this summary could also be taken, the word summary could be taken out, task force summary, and you could say city council. This we have a city council. These are our responsibilities. We do not need a task force to do our job for us. If we need input from the city citizens in town halls, in community forums, this council will establish those. If we need input from the city or the citizens and we want to do it through a survey format, then that would be something that the city council determines is necessary. And then if there's organizations within our community that can assist in those areas, that's when we go to FNIP and say, hey, can you run with this? That's when we go to FYI to talk to the youth. Hey, can you run with this? We do not need a shadow government or a parallel universe to do these things. Now, do these things need to be revitalized, have a little kick in the butt, so to speak? Absolutely. And if that's what Mayor Jones wants, then working with the council can establish that. But to continue with this situation, I have a concern about that. And I would ask too, Ella, did you actually is there any part in the charter that you actually found creates task forces? And if so, where is it?
It's a special committee that is named a task force. I put a name to the special committee and I named it the task force. It's an ad hoc committee in section 231, and I just named it a task force, that's all.
Okay, what about the creating of a board? Because a special committee doesn't define a board, but boards and commissions do. So when your special committee, if you're calling this a special committee, then wouldn't it, what is its finite goal? Because you have a variety of things that go all different directions. What's a finite one lane goal that this committee is tasked to improve? And you mentioned in the grant that you applied for in the name of your task force, in the name of the city of Ferguson, that you had a 1-year timeline of January 1st, 2021 to December 1st, 2021. But in your summary, you mentioned that the task force positions can last 1 year to 3 years. So what is the time existence of the special committee called task force?
It's only 1 year with an option to go more than 1 year. That's why that was put in there.
Okay,
If there's a need for them to look at different areas in Ferguson and North County, and if they go beyond 1 year, that's an option.
so if you are saying it's 1 year and there's what is the finite goal? Because I would say that as a special committee and as input from this council member, that I would request that you have a finite goal with a finite timeline, and 1 year being fine. At 1 year point, that goal is either established or it is not established. And at that point, rediscussion could occur to determine if there is a need to continue. But to have an open-ended opportunity to go 3 years does not accomplish the necessity and the immediacy of whatever goal you're working on. So, pick one of these things. What in your capacity and knowing that the resources at hand as a mayor and as a city council, you already know the resources at hand. You know the resources of your staff. You know the resources of the departments. You know the resources of the boards and commissions available. Outside of those boards and commissions and not overlapping them at all with any goal from a task force special committee, what is the goal that you feel is most necessary that can be accomplished within a year by a group of people to assist? What is that?
Just reviewing the opportunity and the possibility of bettering our community. Just using outside independent experts who can just look at it and come up with some additional information to better our community. It may take a year, and I left it open. It's an open-ended at the end of December 2021. They will meet and see if they have accomplished what I asked them to accomplish. If so, it's fine. It's over with. If they feel like they need to go another 2 or 3 months, that's why it's open-ended. But we always in a possibility of needing, I say, to better our community. We're not living in a silo. And if we can't ask experts to take a panorama view of what we're doing, then.
No, and I hear you. I mean, I absolutely hear you. And what I would point out to you is that we've done that. You've been part of that process already. We have done that. We have spent good money on it. We've hired experts. We've taken a panoramic view. It's took about a year to do. And you sat on the board for it. So you and Fran both sat on the board and represented city council properly and brought that information back to us. The information was created through forums and community engagement and surveys and so forth. And it's actually called the 2040 plan. This has been done. So again, I ask, with the resources that we already have, the 2040 plan, the boards and commissions that can take a page out of that 2040 plan that aligns with their expertise and reason for existence. You take that 2040 plan, you take out those sections and you say, okay, fair housing, how can we do this? Let's go talk to FNIP. Let's go talk to planning and zoning. These entities are already established. Okay, go to that. And then you take the different sections and you hand them out to the existing boards and commissions that are designed by city charter, state law, county law. Outside of those already established things, when you take that approach, there is a lot less that the task force / special committee has to do. And with that being said, they no longer have to do environmental sustainability. That's part of the city council. I mean, that's part of the city staff. That's part of Parks and Rec. That's part of planning and zoning. That's part of public works. They no longer have to do fair housing. That's part of planning and zoning. That's part of Elliott. That's part of FNIP. All these things can be taken out, placed where they should be placed. What is left? What is left? What is necessary? Because to me, that's what becomes your task force's focus. And that then aligns itself to a 1-year possibility. It aligns itself to bringing in information that's not already being brought in. It aligns itself to answering a gap in our community's needs that you, Mayor Jones, have identified, and then can assign a group of people to work on. The other thing I would say to you is that the definition and the response you gave me just now is still, I apologize, it is still way too vague. You have not identified anything specific that can be understood in a clear and concise manner. For instance, when a special committee was required for the 501 Plaza, that was specific. It was a special committee for 501. It was a special committee for the development of the fire department. It was a special committee for the development of the police department. And that special committee did the tasks of communicating with the citizens, and having forums, taking information in, aligning that information with the concerns of the citizens and the concerns of the council, making a presentation and a recommendation. And then this council made a decision based on the information they were provided from the special committee. It had a finite design, it had a beginning, and it had an end. I'm not hearing that in this task force. I don't hear it. And what I do see is something that quite honestly, 99% of this is already being done. So again, my question to you is, outside of that 99% that's already being done, what is it that you think is left that is not being addressed currently already that you feel is a necessity?
Well, basically housing, everything, just getting expert opinions about the housing. That's what it is. And when they are working in subcommittees, and soon as they finish their subcommittees and bring their report up, then everybody would have it.
So you already have subcommittees. Those are your boards and commissions. You already have these things. And I want to touch on what you
Well,
just
Linda,
said.
a lot of the boards and commissions are not functioning.
Well, that is something that can be addressed. That is something that can
It
start
has
moving.
been addressed and it's being addressed.
So creating a task force that has a parallel existence to boards and commissions that are already established is not the answer. If
I'm not
these
saying
boards-
it's the answer, and I'm not saying it's a parallel universe either. They are designed to take an expert opinion from where they are, non-political,
all of these boards or commissions are non-political, Ella. There is nothing political about them.
non-political, so they can answer the various questions and look at the 2040 plan to see exactly what was in there and give their opinion.
So again, I want to touch on something you said. You know, when I first heard about the mayoral task force was on March 12th during the Bernie Hayes interview prior
March
to your
12th.
election. Yep, March 12th, 2020, Bernie Hayes interview. And then we learned about your task force in September, on September 24th. So we go from June to September with absolutely no conversation with anybody. But yet in September, it is presented with a full list of recommendations, a full list of goals and aspirations, a full board of corporate advisors that have already been contacted, have already agreed according to the presentation, a full list of community representatives from small businesses, from business corridors, from all 3 wards that were appointed. All of these things are presented on September 24th. These things create meetings. These things cannot be created without collaboration and conversation, which none of that happened with the citizens of Ferguson nor the council. And then in September 24th, we went from that time frame where it was, you said at the end of the town hall that you would be introducing your task force to the city council at the next council meeting, which was October 13th, which that was the council meeting I did not get to attend because that was my mother's 80th birthday. But I did watch the council meeting and there was no introduction of any task force members. And then we fast forward to January 26th, when we're having a council meeting and our interim city council, oh, I'm sorry, let me back up. December 22nd, there was a application for a grant to the National League of Cities that was made by you on city letterhead. And then the grant itself talked in depth about the task force, even using the word that they were elected. And that is in the grant. So the task force was not elected by the city of Ferguson. And that particular grant application, as much as it would have, I don't think you would have had any denial to do it had it been brought to council, as all grant writing is supposed to be done. City council members and the mayor do not write grants. We may find grants. We may recommend grants to the city manager and ask the city manager to go to a department that grant falls within and ask them to write the grant, but we don't write grants for the city, because writing a grant for the city is doing city administrative business, which is against the charter. And also, when we are so when we think we have the ability to do something like that, what we're missing is one, we may be not nullifying ourselves from an established grant that is currently working because it may have a clash that has not been properly investigated. Two, we have not discussed with the council the output of time and money, because most grants have some portion of matching. And even if the grant doesn't have a portion of matching, which I don't think this one did, you would still have the outlay of time and cost of city staff and city resources, which has to be approved by the council. None of this which was done. So that was in December. Then we have January 26th, the council meeting, when interim city manager Jeffrey Bloom mentioned that he had met with the task force on Friday, January 22nd. And in that conversation, he was asked to make a presentation by the mayor to the task force regarding the financial status of the city and the future forecast of the city, which he shared with the city, and he had already shared during the town hall, so it was nothing new to the public information, that he felt that the most effective way for us to save our budget was to create a fire protection district. And his comment was that when he presented this to the task force, they asked smart questions, they got on board with it, and they understood the need. And then at that point, when myself and Councilwoman Tony Burrow questioned this meeting, and that is when you stepped in, Mayor, and you said that the meeting was recorded and it would be put on the city website so that nobody could call you a liar. And I'm not doing that now either, but I'm saying that I have looked on the city website. There is no recording of that meeting, and I don't know where it is. You also
The
said
meeting was sent to Octavia to put on the website. Now, it should be on the website. If it didn't get on the website, then maybe it was corrupt and we need to send her another recording, but it was sent to be put on the website.
okay, well, if you go to archives and you look up meetings and so forth, it's not out there. That's all I can say.
Octavia,
The other thing
where
I
did
will,
you locate the task force recording for when Jeff Bloom spoke to him?
Mayor, I don't have that.
Taylor did not send you a recording.
I don't have a recording, no ma'am.
Well, he was supposed to send you a recording.
Who is-
The one who recorded it.
who is that?
Taylor is part of the task force.
Okay. So
Well, I
again,
will get with him and make certain that the recording is to you, because I was under the impression that he sent you the recording from the meeting with the task force that Jeffrey Bloom had spoken at.
This is
So-
Tony Burrow. This is Tony Burrow. Let me just interrupt for a second. And thank you so much for what has gone forth so far. Linda, thank you for following what we said we would do. As far as this and that and trying to get proof and all of that, that's not what this meeting is about. I'm not looking for that to happen. What I'm just looking for is to happen is just the facts being stated. Calling on Octavia at this time to verify, I would appreciate it if we wouldn't do that. Because actually, if I sent something to Octavia and Octavia could verify this, I always check back to make sure that she has what I said she was going to get. And especially if it comes to something where I know that the citizens are going to want to have it. I have done that every time. And also Apollo Carey can verify that when I send something to him, or I am asking him something, I go back and verify. So let's not get into this, because I don't want to interrupt every time to say where we are with that. It said it would be there. It's not there. I checked myself. It has never been there. So please, let's not get into that, because we have a lot to cover. I appreciate your patience with us.
thank you very much. So getting back to the conversation on January 26th at the council meeting, when the topic came up that there had been a meeting regarding the financial aspects of the city with the task force, again, we have the same issues. The meeting was not publicized. The meeting was not, public was not invited. There was no agenda, all these things that are imperative to proper transparency of any organization or committee. And also, these are not topics of conversation that need to be held one-on-one with any organization or special committee, because these issues can be found otherwise. So it was also mentioned that the next meeting would be in late February or March, and the council would be invited. We are now on April 17th, and none of us have been invited to any meeting, nor do we know when they are or anything along those lines. It was also stated by you, Ella, that the minutes of the meeting would be posted on the website within a week. What actually happened was, within a week, on February 2nd, the task force summary was posted on the website, but it wasn't posted on the homepage where it would be easy for people to access. You have to click 4 times into the website to find it. So, my concern is that this task force has implied powers that it hasn't earned, that it shouldn't get. It has an overreaching scope that overlaps boards and commissions, the city manager, the city staff, and the council. Boards and commissions that are established by city charter, boards and commissions that are established by state law. It overlaps the city staff in regards of saying that it can give input to the city staff. You can't do that. No boards and commissions, no special committee, not even city council can give input to the staff on how to do their jobs. The only entity defined by the charter that can have any contact with city staff is council members to the city manager. You know this as well as any of us. Allowing or implying that an organization, a special committee, has powers otherwise is not acceptable. It's not acceptable. It's not acceptable, and it's not fair to the citizens of this community. So my concerns are that as it is standing right now, it has way too much overlap. It has illegal overlap. It is dangerously breaking the laws of the charter. And I want very much to work with you, Ella, to get some of these things identified, to get these things aligned with the proper boards and commissions that can make use of it. And then, get on us as council members. We need to get on each other. We need to get in there. And I'm not saying any of us are perfect, but if we are the council representative of a task force that has an imperative part of what is the overall goal of the council and the mayor, then it's our responsibility to get those meetings, get those notes, and report them back to the city council and the citizens. Utilizing what we have is what we need to do. Allowing this particular format as it's defined in this summary and presented in the town hall to allow it to remain, I think is detrimental. And I think it's dangerously close to being illegal. And I don't want that for any of us. I want us to utilize, and I want to work with the mayor, and I want to identify any area that is not currently or does not currently have the opportunity to be addressed by what we have in place. And I don't think I think I've covered everything. I will just say that you have the best task force ever, and that is called your city council. And we already have our objectives, that is called the city charter. And we already have our subcommittees and our committees, and that is called the city staff, the boards, and the commissions. And I think that if we go anywhere outside of what we've established by law and by charter, we are actually allowing a shadow government to be established. Thank you.
Who's
Thanks
next?
so much, Linda. I appreciate that. Linda, the one thing that you didn't ask for is what most of the citizens has been making phone calls to us about, and they wanted a list of the task force, but we'll get that to them as
A
we
list
go
of the
further to
members?
a list of the task force members. Remember, we had people calling asking for that, and at the time we didn't know where the task force list was, but we'll get that.
Well,
before.
I can answer that for you right now.
That's
According
what I'm
to
saying.
yeah, according to the presentation, the task force corporate advisors include David J. Raby, Chris Bray, Rodney Krim, Mark Lombardi, Kevin Taylor, Captain Ron Johnson, Kimberly Beck, Takesha Lovelace, Tracy Jeffries, who is the senior advisor to the mayor, and her official title is Senior Advisor to the Mayor, Ella Jones, City of Ferguson, and the Mayoral Task Force. Shira Truitt, Paula Carey Moore, Taylor Brown, which I guess is the guy that was supposed to have turned in the recording and didn't, and Sharon Jackson. And then your residents that were appointed to represent each ward by the mayor. In Ward 1 is Dr. Jackie Lewis Harris, Monica Abbey, and Deborah Moore. Ward 2 is Orlando Sharp and Dr. Cherie Yeggins. Ward 3 is Amanda Canaday and Nokita Noah. And then she said during the town hall that they were still looking for youth advisors from age groups of 16 to 23 and 18 to 25. Their representation from the small business community was Beatrice Covington with Covington Connections, Tony Mandolino, who his sole reason for being there was to represent Hispanics. They were still looking for a business representative from the West Florissant corridor and the Halls Ferry corridor. They were still looking for senior citizens to be part of the senior advisors group. Yeah, that's what I have from the town hall.
Okay, thank you so much. Still,
Madam-
the person who asked for this discussion, Ms. Fran, I don't sure if Ms. Fran is available, if Ms. Fran wanted to speak at this time.
Well, Heather has her hand up.
Heather has a hand up.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not on that frame, so I didn't see anybody. Thank you.
No, that's okay, Tony. So, so I had my original notes based on the task force and, you know, kind of incorporating what everybody else has put out there. I mean, as far as the task force goes, I created a task force to form the Farmers Market Commission and formed a task force to do the technology board. And as a result, then we presented our recommendations to council. And so anybody is allowed to form a task force, period. So I'm just laying out table stakes right now. So with this particular task force, and Ella, this isn't any surprise. I mean, we were surprised when we heard about it on the town hall because none of us had been addressed about it or allowed to provide input. And so since it was presented, 7 months had passed, and you know, it's supposed to meet every 2 months, and we've never seen any minutes or subcommittee minutes or recordings or anything. Nothing's been brought before council about what has been done and what has been talked about or established or recommended. So I feel like that is, I think Stephen brought that up, the transparency of what we're providing our residents. There just seems to be a disconnect with what's been going on with what's being presented for the greater good. The other concern I had in reading through who's on board and who's part of the task force that, again, we had no input into. Now, Nokita Noah, who is going to be sworn in next Tuesday, is part of that task force, and I would recommend that she be removed because no other council member is on that task force. And I'm giving you my thoughts and my notes, and you can respond as soon as I'm finished. So getting back to the transparency that Stephen brought up, you know, this task force came at us. We were all caught blind, and so it's hard to get around or to back something that, number one, we had no input to, and number two, we aren't getting any updates about. So I'm giving you that as constructive feedback to how you want this task force to go forward. And again, one of the points that Linda brought up that I think is very salient is that a task force should have a specific goal, and it shouldn't be open-ended, because when you are no longer mayor, you know, is this task force going to be part of, like, it just continues with who steps in next, or I think we need a more narrow focus for this task force. And and Tony, the processes and procedures that go along with this that she brought up are again very poignant points of what should be discussed. I think in one of the things that came out too is the language of the task force that has like language of a board is in there, and that's a stretch for what you're doing from a task force specific goal. And you know, so I'm not trying to upset the apple cart and throw away the board or the task force. What I would like is to redefine the scope of the task force. I mean, I think Linda mentioned a lot of subcommittees or focus that are already included in some of our boards and commissions. But I think that it would be wise to redefine the scope of this task force. I don't want it to be abolished, but I would like for it to actually be what the citizens need. You know, there are topics, and I think I talked to you about one of them. I mean, like the schools, that's an overreach for the city of Ferguson, because that's not in our purview. The schools are separate from our city government. So I would just like to see this maybe redesigned and with more input from city council. So those are my thoughts, and please respond.
Okay. As far as Naquita Noor and Amanda Candidate, they have never served. They were asked to serve and they declined, and that has not been taken off, but they have never served at all. Now, the word board, I can agree with you. It shouldn't be in there. It should be a committee. So I will look back through that and get some of the language change. No, it's the mayor's task force subcommittee. It's not the council task force. So there it is. Okay, but I do understand what you're saying. So the language would need to be revisited and redesigned. Okay.
This is
Fran?
Tony, this is Tony again. The purpose of this meeting today is not to redefine the task force that you've put forth. So I don't want you to think, Ella, that that's what's happening here. It is not. So there is a lot more to be done to this document that you have. I'm going to call it a document because there's so little of SOP there. And I'll go ahead and say that standard of operation procedures have not been taken into consideration when this document was formed. And I really don't know who, or really I don't care who put it together. That is not important here. But what is important, that as Linda pointed out, there's so much that shouldn't even be there, that we need to start a skeleton. I'm not in favor of telling people what they can and cannot do as far when it comes to freedom of speech. I'm not in favor of that. But what I am in favor of is that we do this right, that we do it for the people that we raised our hand and said, we made these vows that we would do everything possible that would benefit the city and the citizens here. I will tell you this, as far as education is concerned, and you know this. There is a 2+2 program. I am the liaison for that. And that's how we get to the education. That's how we get into Ferguson Florissant School District. That's the path that we go to get into Hazelwood. That's the path that we go to Riverview. So you already know that. So that part shouldn't have even been there. As a matter of fact, I just reported most recently that Dr. Davis and I are having meetings regarding what's going on between the city and how we can come together on the economic development. So that has already been stated, and that was happening before this document came into existence. So a lot of things that's in that document shouldn't even be there, as Linda pointed out. If we were to start over and not abolish this today, we'd start over with a clean sheet. We give that to students when they make a mistake. We give them a clean sheet. You need a clean sheet, Ella. I'm willing to give you a clean sheet. I'm willing to sit down as a council and say, let's do this and let's do chicken writing. Colonel would be proud. I'm talking Kentucky Fried here, but I think you get my drift. We want to do what is right for the citizens of Ferguson. A lot of these people that are on that task force that Linda just mentioned, they're probably wonderful people. I don't know them. I wouldn't know if I saw them. Is that the right thing for us? Really? Think on that for a second. Just think on it. I'm not bringing anybody's reputation into question. That's not what I do. But if we're going to have somebody that's going to be telling me what to do with my tax dollars, I want to know them. I want to know them from themselves. And when you talk about experts, when you're talking about bringing people in to tell us how to do it right, we've been there, done that. I'm an expert. You're an expert in something. We all have some expertise. But the bottom line is, who's going to pay for that? We're already looking at a budget that's tight. We're not broke, but we poor. When you bring in subject experts, when you bring them in, very few are going to come in pro bono. And why would we do it? And we already got a 2040 plan. What is in that document? And I don't mean to reiterate what the two council people have said, but what's in that document? We're already doing. Fran was the liaison of the 2040. She knows that like the back of her hand. I don't know if she was not asked what needed to be in that document, but I would have thought that, Negra, another person, Scott Negra was on that board. If you open up the first page, it tells you who all was there for the 2040 plan. I don't see these people represented in that document. Where are those folks that could have told you we're already doing the 2+2? You can look at my campaign and see we're already doing some of that. We're going to be doing that. And it had nothing to do with the plan. I would say to you, and I would say to the citizens, we need a clean sheet. And we need to stop doing things that we're already doing. Why would we? If you talk about improvement, that's one thing. And everybody knows when you do a SMART goal, the first thing you have is an ending and not an option to go for 2 or 3 or however many months turn into years. It's not an option when you do a SMART goal. We teach that to children in the 4th grade now. We as a council should already know if you're going to start something, you ought to have an ending to it. So everything that's in that document saying we're going to do, when, for how long, and what's the end date? We need a clean sheet. I'm preaching clean sheet today. I would be willing to not abolish this task force. And I remember I got the date when I asked you at a neighborhood meeting. I asked you, which one is it? You said it's both of them. Now today you say it's one. So we need to be on the same page every time. Get it straight. If you say it's this today, let it be that tomorrow. We're putting together some fantastic things with the neighborhood associations. We're going to have citizens knocking down the door. What can I do? What can I do? I think those are the kind of citizens that we have in the city. They want to do it.
I would also, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I would also like to add, before we go any further and it gets too far down the road, the comment that you just made, Mayor Jones, that this is not a council task force, this is the mayor's task force. Well, I have a problem with that comment because this is what we're trying to get at. This needs to not be one person's task force. This needs to be all of us. This needs to be all inclusive of the council because we all represent the citizens. So in essence, this needs to be what the citizens need. And I understand that there's things that are identified in there, which the citizens do need, which is why we have the boards and commissions established. I reiterate the fact that we need to utilize those boards and commissions. If they're not filled up, and then it's our responsibility to get it filled up so that we can get it working, so that we can get it moving forward. These are the steps that need to be taken that have already been created so that we're not wasting time creating something that's already been created. We are using that time to revitalize what's already been created, to get the wheels turning so that we can move forward. As you have said many times, we can move the city forward, utilizing what we have, and then identifying if there's any gap where we need to fill that gap with a committee or with another board, if so be it. And if there is a need for another board, then that needs to be an ordinance and a resolution that comes before the council. Right now, if you want to look at people who have input into the city's financial aspects, we need to talk to Otis and Clark. We need to talk to people that have already made commercial investments. And in regards to, this isn't the council task force, this is the mayor's task force. That hit wrong. That hit wrong. And that's something that, if that is the mentality of this whole process, that is a problem. I would say if you want to truly impact the things that the community has requested a need for, we need to have a task force on traffic calming. We need to have a task force on speeding throughout our community. We need to have a task force that can make recommendations and research areas of unique possibilities and utilize the knowledge that our police force has, and utilize the knowledge that our planning and zoning has, and utilize the knowledge of our public works.
We have a traffic commission, though.
We have a traffic
have
commission for that, and that traffic commission has not met since 2016, I believe.
Well, there you go. You got a perfect opportunity to reestablish.
It becomes, you're talking about the boards and commission and their importance. I know how important they are, because when I first came on council on 2015, I made it my goal to start working to fill the boards and the commissions. So they are important, but if the whole council is not working together to engage people to take an active interest in the boards and the commission, they're going to continue to be like they are.
Well, then that would be the objective. I would assume, if I were in your shoes, that would be the objective, is to get a buy-in from the council to get the boards and commissions filled and active. That would be the objective, not creating a whole nother parallel process.
Exactly.
Because
Let me just say this.
It's not a parallel process. Number
it
one,
is as it
it's
is.
the advisory committee to me. Number two, when you be elected on the council, the boards and commission becomes your responsibility to help continue to keep it vital and keep it filled. You shouldn't have to be looking for a buy-in from the council. When I got on council, nobody told me I needed to buy in on filling the boards of commission, but I knew that was my responsibility, and I work and continue to work to do that.
Ella, this is Tony. Let me just say something about that. Just at the last council meeting, you had an opportunity to appoint a person to the library board. This is an example. You had the information a month prior. When I asked you about it, you said, we'll do it next time. That would have been
Yes.
the last, let me just finish that, that would have been the last one. When that time came, I reminded you of it in open forum, and you said you hadn't had a chance to talk to that person. And you said that you wanted that person in that position and that you would call that person by Friday. Now, I believe that it has been maybe 3 weeks. I don't know the time. I could look it up. That I don't know if you've contacted that person or not. I don't check up behind you. However, if that person had been appointed, I should have known that because I'm the liaison for that board. When it comes to boards and commissions, we have been trying to sit down and discuss that since you were in on June. The last conversation you had about that was, we're going to put that off till later. Now, if you understand that what we're trying to do here, and that's what you said just now, and I believe you, then the time to put that aside is now. And I'm going to tell you something about parallel shadowing. That is what this task force that you have assigned yourself with all those people and that document that you got. I just want to be honest about it. That's shadowing. And if you need all those people to be your, I'm looking for a word.
Advisor.
I'm looking for a word. I heard her say advisor. I don't want to say your posse or anything like that because it's too serious. But what comes to mind is we got a council that the citizens said they wanted to do that. And if you need an expert opinion on that, you might want to rethink what you've done here. I'm just giving you some advice. I'm trying to help you. I would love to be able to turn my head and do what I'm doing and not have to keep an eye, a steady eye on everything that happens from out of your seat. I would love to be able to say, hey, call me anytime, day or night. No time is too early, no time is too late. That's what I tell my clients because I mean that. And I'm telling that to you now. When you were elected, I said, I'd love to serve you. I told you that. I meant it then and I mean it now. I'd love to serve you. I can't serve somebody that I can't truly trust to do what you say you're going to do. So I'm going to tell you, I'd love to serve you. I'd love for us to work as one. You need a clean sheet. I'm willing to give a clean sheet, but I can't give a clean sheet to a document that has no respect for the citizens that it's supposed to be serving. The document does not speak to what the citizens have said that they wanted, and that's this council. But as I read the document, Ella, it cancels out of council. We are a city manager run town. You already know that. That document cancels out the city manager, cancels out everything that we've done so far. It feels like I've worked hard these last 3 years on this council, and I got some more work in me to do. I want to do the expertise. So what I would like to do is ask, Fran's got her hand up. Thank you, Fran. So I would like to, for us to think about as we finish up tonight, I'd like for us to think about a clean sheet. I'm sorry, Fran, thank you, go ahead.
Fran?
Octavia, can you let Fran know?
We can't hear you, Fran.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
hear
Can
you.
you all hear me?
Yeah,
Yes,
we
I can
can't
hear
see you. We can't see you though.
So, yeah, you probably won't. Good morning, everyone. Let me
Good
just say
morning.
that I've been sitting here for about an hour and 13 minutes just to say good morning to everyone and also to be able to listen to the purpose of this meeting as well as have an opportunity to listen to everyone and the things that you all have brought up. So I appreciate you all giving me that opportunity to listen to everyone before I have an opinion or have an insight, because I needed to understand what the purpose of the meeting was. I thought it was to discuss the details of the committee. After listening to everyone, I've just been taking notes as I go, and what I've found is that there's some conflicting purposes of this particular meeting, or let me not say the purpose, the takeaway. So for me, I'm hearing Heather say she does not want to can it. She wants to be able to redefine the scope. I hear Miss Tony say that was not what her intentions of this meeting were. I heard Garrett speak on his concerns, and that was directly in regards to the transparency of it, not seeing the minutes and really having a understanding as to whether this is a special committee or whether this is a, what it is, defining what it is. I heard Linda's concerns about the legality of it, and not having a defined listing. And I also heard Ella's response. I heard Ella's response to what was said, and I think some things for me have been put up, but some things for me, it sounds like we as a group probably need to look at. However, I want to give my opinion on the matter before I do, because I don't think I've yet had the opportunity as everybody else has. But I just wanted to give you an overview first of what I was hearing from everybody. And my opinion is this. When Ella first created this, Mayor Jones first created this ad hoc, according to what Ella has since described to us. So I don't think, that question of what is this is out of the way. Like, that question has been answered for us. So I don't think that's a question that's on the table anymore. Now that we understand that it is a special committee, I looked up special committees 231, and nowhere in there does it state that a special committee has to be a period of time. And that's according to what's in our charter, 231. It doesn't state exactly what that special committee in terms of time frame is supposed to be. So as a council, I just want us to be clear that whatever it is that we're recommending to the mayor, that we understand that a special committee that is created by the mayor, it does not state it has to have a specific time. So we need to understand that as council legally. I would also, in my opinion, just based off of the concerns that were brought forth in terms of legal matters, I like to, when people point out that these are legal matters and stuff like that, show me in the ordinance where it's said, because I'm gonna go right to it and I'm gonna look it up. And if it does not specifically define, and that touches on Ms. Tony's point about the SOPs. I get your point, Ms. Tony, but I honestly do feel like at this point in time, we should have it broken down. It shouldn't be we waiting for this master SOP. These are things that we could be as legislators actually implementing and putting it, these are small one at a time so we can get it done versus trying to collectively agree on one big piece. Like, I just don't see that happening. But I do hear your point and I do see the need as well. I'm going to say this in regards to like conversation outside of what the purpose of this special committee is, I think those conversations that we should have outside of that. I know this is a discussion regarding the committee, so I would encourage us to stay focused on that specifically. I think the wordage, yes, it needs to be better defined, but I don't see that that would be anything that would be difficult to do. In terms of overlapping, I know we have an IT department, but we also have a IT committee. And so I do know when you have a lack of staff, sometimes you need to be able to have some assistance. We talk about how stretched the staff is.
Where did she go?
Did we lose her?
I think so.
I'm back. Can you hear
Okay.
me?
Yeah,
Yep.
we can hear you.
So you
Okay,
stopped
I don't know.
about
It just went out on the overlapping. So the
Yeah,
overlapping, I do see the point about having committees do work. And I think as an advisory special committee, and that's something that I'm sure Mary Jones can speak to that, but as an advisory committee, like just looking at the comprehensive plan, you would need to have as much information as possible so that you would be able to provide that to those committees. So I see this like as I do see a connection to it. I see this special committee and whatever findings come out of it. I see that as like a leader into what you're describing, Linda, as far as the process for the different boards and commissions. That's what I see. That's
Can
what
you
I
say
see this special
that
committee.
again? Can you say that again? What do you? I'm not
Whenever
complete.
this is if you're organizing, and if just for me, just if you're organizing, the first thing you do is gather all the information, and then once you gather all the information, if there is a network to be able to use it, then you take the information, you give it to the appropriate networks, and then it functions correctly. This is a special committee, an advisory special committee. So the function is not to serve the purpose of the boards or commissions. The function is to be able to advise and collect the information so that it can be disseminated throughout. That would be that, and that's just me. I'm not saying that that's what it is. I'm just looking at, from an organizer's perspective, that's what this special committee would do. And only the mayor can speak to that because this is her special committee. I think I'm willing to give the space to be able to collect that information. If that's what's needed, I want to know it all. I also want to hear from the residents, and I'm sure there's going to be a process for that. Do I know it specifically? Only the mayor can speak to that. So
Well,
I'm just,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'm sorry. No,
Then I'll go.
that's pretty much it for me. I've got a lot of different, I could comment on every different thing. I'm just overall, for listening to for a whole hour and a half to what everybody was saying, that's just what I come up with, and that's what I hear. And so I think if we got through that first, just simply getting that to a point where we got to understand what is it that we, I definitely feel like everybody needed to be able to express themselves. And I'm willing to hear everybody. I want to learn more about it as well. But I also want to be able to provide the space. And I am one of those type of folks where I feel like, just saying that this is always how it was done. I hear the legal question to that as of, can it be done? If it cannot be done, then there should be wordage within there that spells that out. If it doesn't spell it out, then it leaves it open, and that's legal. That's legal when you're looking at laws and policies and things of that nature. And I do think we need to overall look at how we function as a community, and how we really put into practice and wordage what it means to be community, to build an empowered community, because this is a democracy. And so I think that needs to be represented within the laws that we are regulated by. And I want to help contribute to that. Eventually, that is a whole nother subject. But I want to give the mayor and the special committee the space to be able to do it. I am interested in learning more. We just got over an election at this point, and we haven't even had a swearing at this point. So it's like, I hear what you're saying. I think everything that you said was valid concerns to be brought up. But I am also open to trying to figure this out, how we do this all together. Clean slate, those are the powers that the mayor was given to be able to do it. And unless it says that she can't do it, you got them wordages, and you can, because we can say it's legal all day, but if you want to say legal, then show me. I am definitely one of those types.
Thanks, Fran. I certainly do appreciate you for summing it up, and also for giving you your opinion. One of the things that I do want to talk about, I feel about the SOP. If you will recall, we have asked the mayor and even the city manager to give their insight on what could happen or what they could do to help enhance the SOPs. And we were not waiting on a big package to be put together. I specifically, and we can go back to those notes, I specifically asked Mayor Knowles, what can you do right now with the
Mayor Jones.
I specifically asked Mayor Knowles, what could you do to, I'm not talking about Mayor Jones, I'm talking about Mayor Knowles.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. I specifically asked Mayor Knowles, what could you do to help us when it comes to communications and speaking to the people about what we're doing? He agreed we did have a lack in the SOPs, and that we needed to do standard. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. And he agreed. I asked the same thing again of Mayor Jones. What could we do about communications? She said she'd get back to me. That was in the first session. The second working session we had on standard operating procedures. Now, all this time, when she said she had nothing and she would get back to us, she had to been formulating the special committee, but did not share it when she had the opportunity. I asked again, and I got notes, and they're all recorded in these Zoom calls. If you look at the time frame, cloak and dagger, all of these things had to have been in process, but not shared with the council. And Fran, I totally get it about these things, about legality. And that's why we pay the attorney so much money when he's present at these meetings and he tells us what can be done and what cannot be done. And we have to go back constantly to figure out what to do that's okay with me because we want to do it legal. But if you have to, and I will take you back to the fact that we do need end dates. Otherwise, we will just be out there floundering year after year after year. It's common sense to have an end to a beginning. So that has to be done. We can't walk away from this meeting today if Ella Jones can't say to us that we're going to take a different look, we're going to take a look at what has been done. It's not illegal, some of the things she's done, but it's certainly not courteous. It's certainly not with the best interests of the council. It's certainly not in the best interest of the way we have our government, city government set up. It may not be illegal, some of these things, most of them are, but I've got that. And friend, I'll be more than happy to put that together for you, and not just for you, but for all of us to know what is legal and what is not legal. I think we owe that to the citizens. But I will tell you this, there ought to be a certain amount of compassion. There ought to be a certain amount of integrity. I can name 100 words to say that we shouldn't be guessing at what the person that's sitting in the seat is doing or will do for that matter. So that's my big concern. That's my reason for being here today. I asked Mary Knowles when it comes to the economic development sales tax, I said, I need to have a carte blanche into putting those people in place. She said, okay. She said, no problem. I'm going to hold her to that. And so those are the things that need to happen when we can have a conversation and don't come back. Oh, that's what it meant then, but it means something different today. I need somebody I can trust when I say, I'm going to give you a clean sheet. And I'm talking about all the folks that came to the poll just last week and said they wanted me to represent them, that I'm speaking for those people. And I want to say, if you're going to get a clean sheet, you can't tell us again, I'm going to think about it, because that's what you've been doing about the SOP. I'll get back to you. It's time to cough it up. It's time to say what you're going to do, so we will know today.
Well, when you asked me about the SOP, I told you I didn't have anything to input in it, because I feel like if you gonna spearhead the SOP, then you come up with your ideas and present it to us. I don't have any ideas to put in your SOP.
That's not what you said, Ellen.
That's exactly what I say. I don't have any ideas at this time.
You said I will get back to you. That's what you said, as if you were thinking.
I will get back to you, and you asked me again, and I told you I didn't have anything to offer at this time.
And we explained to you what an SOP was, and this city.
I know what an SOP is.
And this,
I don't for the lab that I used to work in.
I don't want to be in competition when you're talking, and so I want you to do for me what I did for you when I'm talking, so we won't be in competition. And if we wanted to pull that up, I can pull that up exactly what you said. But what I'm saying to you is that we are without standing operating procedures. You know it, I know it, and everybody on this council knows it. We are without it. And if you don't have anything to add toward that, then what are you doing with this document? That's exactly what you're trying to do. Think on it. I'm trying to help you think on it. So that's what I'm looking for, is for some commitment to the citizens. I'm sitting here doing a job for many people, and I want to do the right thing. I want to give a clean sheet. I can't do it if we're going back and I don't have anything to add, because you got a whole document full of stuff that shouldn't. I mean, Linda brought it out beautifully, piece by piece, and there's more. And I appreciate Fran, because I like the way she summarized it. I appreciate that. I would definitely want each person to give their final view on where they are from what we've done today. And I see it, Linda, you got your hand up, so you can go ahead.
Actually, Stephen had his hand up before I
I'm
did.
so sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So
Thanks, Linda.
It's more or less mute, but the language in the documentation is implementing actionable, where the task force is acting on behalf of the ideas and plans that the task force is creating with the mayor. That is my core issue, is that there is perceived actionable power that can be utilized within the single document that we have. And that is sprinkled throughout this document: implement community engagement, creating long-term visions of the community and stakeholders,
Per the mayor.
yes, and these develop actionable implementable plans to be employed by the city and the task force. This is the kind of language that is concerning, because it is creating a workaround for actionable items exclusively done within the city and the task force. That is the issue.
And I would
And
add to,
I would agree with what you just said.
and I would add to that, you know, language is powerful. Language is the most powerful thing we have in this world. And the language of this document always adds per the mayor, appointed per the mayor, removed per the mayor, timeline designed per the mayor, committees assigned tasks per the mayor. And I would remind everyone that we are not a mayor ran city. We are a city manager ran city with 7 people who have an equal vote. And I would ask that that we walk away from today with the request of a clean sheet. And Fran, I want to address directly, I love the way you summarized everything. For a woman who's been sitting there for an hour and a half, you definitely have been listening, and awesome. And I apologize for the hour and a half. But, you know, you said that there is no timeline in the charter. If we're going to state charter and we're going to state law, we need to be clear. You're absolutely right. And there is no timeline stated in the category of section 2.31 regarding special committees. But I would add to that, that is where with council communication, these things are established. And I would also use the example that when mayors in the past have utilized this part of the charter and created special committees, they did it with the council. They created objectives with their council. They included their council's opinion and selections for people on the committee. And I would state too, that if this is not clarified, this becomes part of the SOP process that we are so desperately needing to define these things for future. But right now, the definition of a special committee and its goal and its timeline would have been transparent and communicated had this been involving city council members. From day one, this has never involved city council. It didn't involve you, Fran. It didn't involve me. It didn't involve anybody on city council. And we all proudly represent our citizens and proudly would have had commentary to help create something that would, in essence, impact the city in a positive manner and support common objectives for the council and the mayor, for all 7 that establish an impact for the community as a whole. And Fran, you know, you represent Ward 3 beautifully. You know what your citizens want. You have a very impressive grasp of what your ward is looking for.
No,
And
sure.
and I will say your voice wasn't included either. And the special committee needs to include all of our voices. And at this moment, it does not. It simply includes the voices of people that our mayor handpicked that in some way can be advantageous to her, either through their position or their friendship with her. And we need citizens. We need to be doing the work of the city. You do this, we all do this. We need to be doing the work of the citizens, not the whim of the mayor.
Well, let me say this, and I apologize. A couple of people have to leave, and I was supposed to be at a cancer event at 11 o'clock. So, but anyway, just want to share with you, the task force has broken down in subcommittees. Each subcommittee has a member, a citizen present. They are collecting all the information and they putting it together. And we'll turn it in to me to give it to Octavia. I want to hear their voice, their side, what they see, what they have experienced first before you all start abolishing anything, because the work that they have done is critical. Each one of these people are donating their time. No one has asked for a dollar, a dime, or a penny. All of them are donating their time because they wanted to be on the advisory committee with me and to give their opinion. So before you all think you want to demolish or abolish or whatever you want to do, I need to get all the information from the subcommittee meetings and compiled and give it to you so you can see their report. That's it.
So Ella, like back to the initial charter or the initial what you put out for your task force, under others, community engagement approach, social media, it says the task force will use social media consisting of Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook to keep the community abreast of information. I don't think that has actually been done. The second part of that is surveys. Community surveys will be created to allow the community to give feedback, and I don't think that has been done. And then the last one is measurement. The task force measurement for success is tangible and visible. And I've heard SMART goals being bantered around in conversation. And so for those of you that don't know what SMART goals are, it's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Those are SMART goals that, like those of us in industry have to create for ourselves for what we're going to do in the year, and then we're measured against that. I don't know that anything has been actually put up against SMART goals or has any. Well, again, and I'm blind to what has already been done, as we all are. So I'm not here to abolish or dismantle the task force. I'm asking that you look at the language that was written into the mayor's community task force summary and redefine and refocus and be more inclusive with council and the community. And that's my ask.
Okay, that's
Mayor
no
Jones.
problem. That's no problem. And let me apologize for this. I really thought that Taylor had sent the recording to Octavia and had it uploaded. So I will get with him and see where the ball dropped. That I apologize for, but we'll look into. And they are meeting and they have come up with some information, but all of it has to be compiled. And once it's compiled, I will personally put it in Octavia's hand so you can see the work that they have been doing as subcommittees. And that's the only thing I could share at this time.
Mayor Jones, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. But what you just said completely breaks the sunshine laws. Having meetings, created subcommittees, that then subcommittees are having meetings that have representation by citizens that nobody knows who they are. And there's no agenda and there's no public notice and there's no minutes. Everything you just said in all of its intention of well-being is completely unacceptable by sunshine law. And I
All of
would
the
ask
dates
that
of
you,
times and minutes and everything they
it
do
doesn't matter.
there.
You didn't do it in the proper process of the law. You did not do it in the proper process of the law. You did not make it public to the community. I appreciate the intention. I appreciate the hard work. And I'm not even saying it needs to go wayside. I'm saying it can go on hold. And this whole process needs a clean sheet. I am asking that everything that has been created as the task force objectives, the processes of engagement, the terms of limit, all of that be wiped away. Everything from scratch starts over with the council involvement in public, with the citizens engagement. Any meetings, any group created becomes published on the city website when they meet, just like the library board, just like the CRB, just like FNIP, just like anything else. If this is a special committee, then the objective of that special committee be created for a finite, as Councilwoman Robinette said, a finite SMART goal with a timeline and start date and an end date. I request that what we currently have is not acceptable, is not legal, and needs to stop today. But all of the work that you have, all of the people that you have do not need to go away. They do not need to be disqualified. They are absolutely doing this out of the goodness of their heart. And I would encourage them to stay on in some capacity as this is redesigned to be more transparent for the community. But as it stands today, I would ask that we start over with a clean
Well,
sheet.
If they are community members, then and they are citizens of Ferguson, they can join a task force. They can join as a task force. They can join the neighborhood associations. They can join the boards and commissions. There's place for them. I'm sorry, Fran has her hand up. Fran, I'm sorry.
Okay, I was just gonna say, in terms of the wordage that Linda just stated about the SMART goals and stuff like that, those are things that you would have to, if that's what you would like, if that's what, as a council, as a representative of the community, if you would like, then you need to put that wordage, create that wordage, submit it out, and get a vote from the council to change it. Because as it stands right now, that SMART goal that you mentioned, although I think it's a very good idea, but it's not in the charter. That finite, specific wordage that you just mentioned, it's not in the charter. And so I think when we talk about, I hear what you're saying, but as legislators, that the only thing that I would suggest,
Oh, we lost her again, darn it.
Well, and I'll while she's trying to get back in, I mean, SMART goals don't have to be part of it, but it's industry best practices. I mean, it's just best practices overall. So
yeah.
Yeah, and if you're talking
usually,
about subject expert,
can you all
a
hear me?
subject matter expert.
Oh, she's back.
you can, Fran, go ahead.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah. So I definitely understand what I'm hearing everyone's point, but I'm also making a point as well, and coming with some takeaways out of this conversation. And so if that is, our intentions to create, wordage and language within our ordinances that actually spell out what we would like to see as a city, then I would suggest us to do that. And that would be a totally different thing. But, I'd be interested in looking at specific small pieces like that, so that we can start creating that change. So I'm just willing to work with everybody. And I appreciate everybody for expressing themselves, because I think some things just need to be streamlined.
And I just want to tell you, thank you so much. The SMART goal is not in the charter. It is, and Heather mentioned this, it is a process. If you're a subject matter expert in the industry, you're going to use a SMART goal to get to your bottom line. So talking to Ella, mentioning people that she would get outside experts, I'm going to tell you now, any expert will come with that SMART goal before they make a decision, especially to put before a group of people in the numbers of tens of thousands. They would have to use it. Otherwise, somebody like me would think, where is it? So the SMART goal, even though it's not in the charter, trust me on this one, it will be used if you bring in an outside expert. So that sums it up for today where we are. Ella, can we hear from you, from what you've heard from us, what your next step is going to be, what your next step is going to be?
Well, only thing I could share with you at this point is,
Get that off the bed. Throw it away.
Uh-oh, somebody's out.
someone needs to mute. Only thing I could share with you at this point is they are just about closing up as a subcommittee and putting all their findings together. And I want to see that and I want to share that. So that's where I am.
Can you give me a time frame when you say that they're putting everything
To
together?
be honest with you, we were going to do it on the 29th, but something has, well, Monday, everything will be explained. So it will probably be probably by May 20th. Let me look at the calendar.
Monday, what is Monday? You said Monday, everything,
Tuesday. I'm sorry, Linda, Tuesday.
Tuesday, everything will be explained in which council meeting? The first one or the second one?
Number 2.
Why can't it be explained in the first one?
It doesn't make any difference. It's explained.
Okay,
in
I'm
number
just
1 or
asking.
number 2. It doesn't make any difference.
Let me tell you something. Yes, it does. It makes a lot of difference. It could be the tipping point. It makes a difference. And I'm going to say this. If you're bringing an explanation to this council, then I would say it would have to be in the first meeting. And you know why. That's where we're going to make decisions from this council. So if you're planning on, so put this, because this is going to make the decision right now today of which way we go. Is it going to be in the first meeting or is it going to be the second meeting? I would suggest it be in the first meeting. And if you can't make that happen, then we need to make a decision today on what we're going to do. So can you tell me now?
It's going to be in the first council, and it will be May 20th.
No, I request that you have an update for the council in the first council meeting of April 20th to this current sitting council. That is my request. I make a motion that we request that we have some information and update and details of what is going on in the first council meeting of April 20th. That is my motion.
I second that. And so that we're clear.
I have not called for a vote.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, are there any questions? Are you ready to vote?
Yes.
I tell you, do we need a roll call or just a voice vote?
A voice vote will work.
Okay, a voice vote will work. That's no problem. On the 20th, you get a basic summary of what the subcommittees have been working on. So that's no problem.
Okay, Ellen, when you say basic, and I am nitpicking because it's going to be serious.
Nala,
So, I'm sorry.
go ahead, I'm sorry.
Am I missing something here?
No, I apologize. I was yelling at my
Okay.
dog.
Okay, thank you. I think that so that we have plenty of time, we might need to do a scrub of what our council meeting is going to be on that day for that first meeting. And
Well,
Another thing is this, Ella, I got something, and I have not been paying a lot of attention, but I want to bring this up, is about that meeting. Who called, are we having a face-to-face? And we've not been having face-to-face, we've been doing Zoom. And I thought we should have had a vote on whether we're coming back into the council for face-to-face, rather than we just say, oh, for this particular one, we're gonna have one. Can we clear that up?
Well, you have to decide whether or not if you want to be face-to-face or not. That's
I mean,
why
I mean, as a
please
council,
reply.
not just me. Let's just back it up, Ella. I'm saying this, not just me, as the council coming into the council. And so did we get a clearance for what that was about? And I gotta tell you, I did not read it completely. I just glanced over it. Do we have that cleared from the SOP that the fire department does have? Is that
Chief
clear?
Are you talking about Chief Hampton and the COVID
Yes.
protocols?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's been, Chief Hampton have looked at it, talked about it, everything. He's in on all of the.
Did he
meetings.
approve it?
When I
That's
say
all I'm
meeting,
asking. Did he approve it? Is all I'm asking.
yeah, he has approved it. I
Because-
wouldn't have sent the email out if he had not approved it.
Just yesterday, we got reports of a spike. Just yesterday is when I got the notice. So we're still looking at this on a daily basis. So I'm just wanted to know. So I'm just saying we might have to scrub. I don't want it to come up later that, oh, we had too much on the agenda. So I'm just asking you to take a look at the agenda in the event that we have to scrub the agenda. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Rand.
I
Well,
was
yeah,
gonna,
okay, but Monday we
I was
can't.
actually gonna ask, because, you know, if we want to get some type of update by the first meeting, I would actually be curious to find out from the mayor as to which information she believes she can provide by that time. Because what I don't want is for us to set a goal, and for whatever reason, that goal isn't met because maybe they haven't met, or whatever the case may be. But at least if we have a clear understanding as to what she can provide by the first meeting, then we can at least go from there.
I had the
Does that
question
seem
already
like
to her, friend. I asked that question. I asked what did basic mean?
I will get with the subcommittee heads, subcommittee team leaders, and get a report.
So I guess what I'm looking for and what I'd like to see, I'm not asking you to have a final report. I'm asking you to give us what you have at this point.
That's what
I
it be.
I understand. What I want to know is, who are the team leaders? Who are the direct subcommittee? You know, is there an overall director over subcommittees? Who are the leaders of each subcommittee? Who are the members of the subcommittees? What are the subcommittee titles and duties? These are all things that we would like to know, because these are things we don't know. And this needs to be brought to the council. And in regards to meeting in person for the meeting, I would really love to do that, but unfortunately, I don't think it's beneficial to us to do that, because we have not opened up the council meetings as a whole. You know, we are in a different portion of the COVID protocols, but, you know, we weren't able to do it for the mayor. We weren't able to do it for appointments for Mr. Garrett. We're still under COVID protocols. So my recommendation is that we do it, you know, if you have the people want to be in chamber with Octave, or, you know, however, I don't know. I know Ella was in chamber when she got installed. But I don't
That's
think
how
as
it's
a,
going to be for each new person. Their family will be in a staging area.
in the
Explain-
staging area, what do you mean by that? Are they going to be off to the right-hand side of the chambers, the
Each
left-hand
family
side of
is
the?
going to be in a separate room. And when it's time for them to be installed, that family will come out and witness the oath for the new person and leave. Then the second family will come in and witness that oath. And then the third person will come in. Every family will be in a different room.
Okay, and I understand, I think that's what we,
Heather, I'm not sorry, Linda, can we go back to the business of, go back to the business of what they were, because I'm not coming to that. So that's one candidate that you don't have to worry about. And I'm thinking that if we're gonna have a full-fledged first meeting, then I'm gonna do it by Zoom, and I'll send you that information, Ella, my opinion. Can we go back to this motion that we were taking place?
Thank you.
so my
You
motion,
were ready to vote, is that not correct, Octavia? And you say we did not need a roll call vote, we could just say aye.
I would like my motion to include the details that I asked for, the department head name, the committee names, the
Yes.
committee head names, and the committee member names, as well as the committee objectives.
That's no problem.
So that I'm clear, Councilwoman Lipton, can you restate your motion for me, please?
Yes, ma'am, not a problem. I make a motion that on the first meeting of April 20th, that we have an update of the business that has been done to this point, of the subcommittees on this task force, with the information of who is on the subcommittees, who is the subcommittee leader, and what is each committee's objective and title. And that update should probably, obviously it's an update, so.
You have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
It was
Second.
already seconded.
Okay, are you ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay.
So I would
Anything
just ask,
else?
did you want, Tony, for us to go around and make our final statements?
Well, I
I'm
have
asking
to
Tony.
leave.
Yes.
I have to leave. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'll be last.
All right, the statement that I would like to make in a nutshell is that I hear you, Mayor Jones, constantly in all of your press bites and sound bites and opportunities at the diocese to talk about working in collaboration with the council. And I truly believe you have not lifted one finger in regards to what has happened up to this point to do that with us. And it saddens me because it misrepresents the community in those actions. And I am, for one, do want to work with you. I do want to utilize the current boards and commissions that we have. I do not want to overlap our city staff and department heads and objectives. And I would ask that you seriously consider starting over, renaming this, and working and creating the objectives, creating the format, creating the recruitment process, creating the timeline with your fellow council members in council meetings, because then we would see true working together. We would see true collaboration, and the citizens would see true efforts being made in those areas. Right now, it seems to be behind closed doors.
Thank you. Fran, can you go next? Is Fran dropped off?
Sure.
Oh, she's coming
No, I'm
on.
here.
Thank
hear
you.
me?
Yes, ma'am.
No, I just appreciate everyone bringing their concerns to the table, in the spirit of working together with council. I'm open to whatever. I definitely want us to start, organizing and getting things in place so that we can, continue to grow. And so, I actually am okay with having tough conversations myself, things that may not make us comfortable with expressing, but I think when we get down to the bottom of it all and we really lead by the words that we're saying versus just saying them because they sound good, like I think then we'll be okay. And so I'm looking forward to us really starting to address some issues and actually find ways that we can take our differences and figure out what's best for us overall. And so I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you, friend. Stephen,
We just need to be acting in transparency, not exclusively with council, but with the community at large. This whole conversation is stemming from the lack of awareness and the lack of presentation to this particular committee, and there is potential in it, and if it's following its own doctrine, there's concerns, but if that's being modified to function as it's deemed necessary and appropriate within the charter, it is fine. And so moving towards that goal is in the best interest of the citizens and in the task force itself.
appreciate you. Thank you, Heather.
So I echo the transparency. We haven't had that since September when it was revealed to currently, and I'm looking forward to the April 20th meeting when we get a readout of what's actually being done. You know, I don't want to abolish a task force that has a legal right to exist, but the language within that task force that has been put out there needs to be modified, and we need to make sure that we're not stepping on or stepping around other boards and commissions or what the council is actually here to do. So I am giving, I'm giving, it's not a clean sheet. I'm giving Mayor Jones the opportunity to rectify what those parameters are going forward. And then if it comes back that we don't agree, then we'll have a different conversation. But I think what's been vetted here today is important. I think that there are a lot of good points brought up. There are a lot of, I think it keeps going back to communication, and we don't have enough of that going around. And we're gonna have 2 new council members come on Tuesday. And Stephen, I think you'll actually get to sit in your seat for the first time as you're outgoing. So like that's, I will miss you. But I wanna make sure that we're not walking into a new council that we're at odds or at war with each other. Mayor Jones, I think you've heard all of us today, and I hope that you can appreciate the points that have been brought up and you take them to heart.
Thanks. I just want to say thank you to our audience who on such short notice came to hear what we have concerns about. I want to especially thank the council for taking into consideration what I think is a serious issue. Thank you very much. I do believe in clean sheets. I do believe in grace and mercy. And so, however, what I don't believe in is to go along to get along. I definitely think that we have made progress here today. Inclusivity is a word that I use all the time, and it means to be including. I ran a race 3 years ago on working together to serve together. I come back this time to finish what I started. We will work together. We have to serve together. I want us to be very clear. Outside entities trying to run Ferguson City business will not be accepted. I want us to get to the point where every citizen knows what is happening from the government city area. We need to give the citizens what they deserve. And this lack of communication has got to come to an end. So thank you so much for being present. Please do not miss the next council meeting. We want to welcome our new folks with open arms. We want to celebrate what Stephen Garrett has done for us in the last year that he's been on. It's been wonderful working with you, Stephen. I appreciate it. I've learned about Google, so thank you for that. Thank you, everybody, for being on board. If you have any comments, I'm talking to the audience and the council as well, please let me know, because at our next council meeting, I'm going to take everything that comes to me and put it together, and it's going to be my deciding factor on where I think we should go. So I thank you very much, all of you. Be safe.
Can I also reiterate, if anybody in this group has comments, or they talk to their friends and their neighbors and they have comments that they want to share, you can also email all of us council members, and we will forward that information to Tony to help with her preparation.
I appreciate that. Mayor Jones, thank you. I realize that you have had to go. I'm having to pay for an extra day in this hotel that I'm not going to be in because I overstayed my stay, but that's okay because this is important. Thank you very much. Everybody have a good rest of a good weekend.
Wait a minute, I got to join the meeting.
Oh, I gotta go. You can enjoy.
Okay, go ahead, go.
Thank you.
Just want to say I did hear everything everyone said. However, I'm going to say this. If you want to work together, you got to be inviting just as much as I have been inviting to you. When I call you, not answering my telephone calls or whatever, and you don't want to speak to me, you cannot say that I'm not working or trying to work with you collectively. If someone call you, it's common courtesy to return the telephone call. I can't make you work with me. So it's not a one-way street, it's both ways. So if people want communication, you got to be receptive to the communication, even if you don't like the communication. It's okay to be disagree. I don't have no problems with anyone disagreeing with me, but being disagreeable is another thing. And if you want to work together, everybody has to make an effort to work together, and just don't say, well, the mayor, da, 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 da. But I'm often reminded by all of you, is 7 instead of 1 in the majority rules, which is democracy, but everyone must be willing to work together. It's not just one person, it's everyone. So at this point-
I would like to respond to that for just a quick second. In regards, if you're referring to me in phone calls, I return your phone calls. If you're referring to me in emails, I return your emails. So let's be clear there. And I return your text message. Let me finish this real quick though.
I just want to say this. I gotta get out the door.
Let me finish,
I'm glad I
please.
stayed on because, Ella, if you have somebody that has done those things, you need to call the name out, because I have never not called you back. So it's an
I'm not talking about you. I'm not talking
you need to
about
call
you,
the name
Tony.
out, Ella, because these people on this phone don't know who you're talking about. So I was the last one to speak. And so it could be anybody. That is an window that we don't need. We don't need that. I'm trying to give you a clean sheet. I've always called you back. I call you just to say hello. So don't let people think that we have these people that don't connect with you. Please, I'm trying to give you a clean sheet, please.
And I would also say this, when I'm talking about working together, I'm not talking about communication outside of the public eye. I'm talking about none of these things have been brought to the city council meetings. None of these things came to city council to be discussed and collaborated on. Not once, not once. So let's not confuse the issue. You've made it clear in the past, we're not friends, but we work together. And you text me, I answer. When you call, I call back. When you email, I respond. I respond quicker than a lot. And I also respond with full sentences, not one words. But I will say this, what I am referring to is not private communication or one-on-one communication. I am referring to the lack of communication with the city, with the council as a whole, at council meetings, in front of the citizens to discuss these objectives. That is the defining problem. So let's be clear, because I do not want to end this meeting on that note.
It's always a two-way street.
Absolutely.
Always a two-way street. At this point, can we have a motion and a second to adjourn?
So moved.
I make a motion, second.
Okay, it's been properly moved in second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. We are adjourned. Everyone have a good weekend, the rest of the weekend, and I'll see you on the 20th.